How are we doing today? Good. Well, I was really pleased with the way, the guys came out and played in the game today. It's always trying to create a standard for how you play. Competitors always want to prove something, always challenge themselves. And I thought our guys did a pretty good job of that today. I think the turnovers, 5 turnovers, were probably, big in terms of the score ending up the way it did. But I thought, Mac was pretty efficient, made a lot of explosive plays, on offense. Didn't throw it maybe as much, but made a lot of explosive plays. And I was pretty pleased with the all-around performance in terms of the way the defense played and the turnovers that they got. Made a big play on special teams. So, a lot of good things. Probably the one big negative is fumbling the ball. 1st and 3 at the 3. Those are all kinds of things that we need to learn from. But sure, we'll look at this game, and a lot of guys got to play in this game, which is really good. We had a lot of new guys playing up front on defense, but we got to play a lot of players, and they played a significant amount of time. And I think this experience will, obviously help their development and help us down the road. But now we got to get, focused on what's ahead, and I'm sure our players will be ready to do that.
Sir, we're on the left with Michael.
You said you were anxious to see some of those younger guys on the defensive line. How do you think they performed, and overall, the guys who don't normally play? How do you?
Well, I think they did a pretty good job. I thought that, especially on the inside runs, for the most part, we did a pretty good job. I think any plays that they made were on boots, edges, losing contain on the quarterback. Not really something that the interior guys had a lot to do with. So I haven't watched the film yet, but I felt like we were controlling the line of scrimmage pretty well. Now, obviously their guys are not as big and as physical as what we're going to face, in the future. But I was not disappointed, and I'm sure the experience did them a lot of good.
All right with Charlie.
You mentioned the turnovers. Just how big was the play of both Xavier McKinney and Jared Maiden today?
Well, I think, they were all big. Obviously anytime you score on defense, that's a big thing. We practice that a lot, intercept the ball, go down the numbers, everybody blocks. And I thought there were some guys that got some great blocks on that. Next did a great job of carrying it in, but, he had 2 picks and Jared had 2 picks, and I think the turnovers led to like 35 points in the game. So the offense converted on them, and that's really good.
Stay on the back with James.
Coach, last year you shared a great story about your recruiting visit with Ross Pierschbaker in your press conference after senior day. I was wondering if you had any memories like that came up today while you were going down the line.
Jared Maiden's mom said, I don't know, when I was on the home visit with them, we had a little line dancing contest, so I had to step through it for them, and she reminded me of that today and actually said, "Do you want to dance?" So I said, "Not today."
We'll back over there.
Nick, Devontae Smith, sort of slight of frame. I think he's listed at 175, but no one really ever gets to really jam him. What allows him to be so effective at that size?
Who are you talking about?
Devontae Smith.
Yeah. Well, the guy's combination of, even though he's a thin-built guy, he's really not frail. Doesn't play frail. Doesn't play weak. He plays strong, and he's got a combination of pretty good quickness and pretty good explosive speed, and he's a very competitive guy. And I think he uses all those things really, really well. But the way he plays, some guys are bigger than him, but they play small. He doesn't play small at all, and I think it's just, who he is as a competitor and as a person, and that's the way he's always been, and that's the way he's always played. So, he doesn't have any issues. He doesn't get pushed around much.
Coach, we'll finish up front unless somebody has a follow-up.
Coach Saban, this is the program's the 12th 10-win season in a row. Talk a little bit about the level of commitment that takes to build a program like this.
Well, I think what I talk to the players about a lot is, we've only had one team I think, in the last 12 years that lost more than one game in the regular season. So, 10 wins is always great. And I think to have that kind of consistency over time takes a lot of players who are very good players, who are very committed to a standard. And we've certainly, had that through the years. And this team has probably had to overcome more in terms of losing really, really good players and other guys having to step up to fill in for them at critical positions. And that's still going to be the test, down the road for this team to see how we finish. But, everything comes down to how you finish. We've given ourselves an opportunity to this point. Winning 10 games is great. But, we want to finish the right way, and it's going to be a very challenging game for us against a very good team to try to do that. But I think the consistency in performance is always what sort of defines success. And, to have that many 10-win seasons, 12 in a row, is really probably, something that I'm pretty proud of. And I think it's something that, the legacy of each team that accomplished that, all those guys should be proud of the legacy they created by what they did while they were here as well.
Got a few follow-ups here. Tony in the back.
Right here, Coach. How much energy did Tua provide? I know he was just, on the sidelines, but how much just having him here, how much did that provide the team?
Well, I think that when a guy has a great spirit and he's a leader, I don't think that you just have to be a player that goes out there and plays, to affect other people. I think his spirit and his leadership, his standard of excellence, example that he sets is something that even though he's unable to play now, people have a tremendous amount of respect for. The players on our team have a tremendous amount of respect for. And I think, it encourages them to know the adversity that he's having to overcome, to give them the opportunity to go out there and be the best that they can be, and appreciate that opportunity and have gratitude that they can go out there and play and try to emulate a guy who sets a good example like Tua does.
Two more, Coach. We're going to Mike and then wrap up with James.
Just what'd you see from Mac when he threw the ball? He threw a couple down the field today. What'd you see from those deep balls?
I thought he threw the ball well. We knew that the way they play defense that we were going to have to take some shots, and that he did a good job of throwing the ball to grass on some of those posts, where they're chasing guys. So I thought he threw the ball well, and he was accurate on the deep ball. I know we missed one, but we just want to keep building on his confidence and our confidence in him, that he's going to go out there and do his job well.
Last question with James.
You talked about the young guys on the defensive line, but more specifically, what did you see out of Christian Barmore today, and how have you seen him progress this year?
Yeah, well, he's been a guy that has really progressed all year long and improved. We always knew he was a guy that had a tremendous amount of ability, especially as a pass rusher, an inside pass rusher, which we really needed. The learning curve for him, coming, from a background where, he came in here and probably wasn't as advanced as some of the other players that we have on the team. It's just been a work in progress to get him to understand how we need him to play and what his assignments are and how important it is to do those things well. And that's what he's really made a tremendous amount of progress in. And he's become a pretty consistent performer because of that, and he's made a lot of plays because of that. And that's the one thing we always try to get guys to understand. They all want to make the play. But how about doing your job? And if everybody does their job, we'll make a lot of plays. You'll make some other guys will make some, but when everybody does their job on defense, then you got a much better chance to be successful.